And right now at 6, we now know the identity of the man whose face was gnawed off during a struggle on the MacArthur Causeway.
Plus, we've learned disturbing new information about the past of the man accused in that horrific attack. Could it all have been avoided? The victim is a 65-year-old homeless man who may have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Local 10's Glenna Milberg is live from Jackson Memorial Hospital with the latest on his condition.
Lori, Calvin, critical is his condition, and by all accounts, 3/4 of his face is essentially missing. His name is Ronald Popo, as you said, 65-year-old homeless man. We have known his identity for a few days. We've held off until police could notify his next of kin. He was known to camp, if you will, his homeless home near the MacArthur, but right near it is unclear whether he knew or how he knew Rudy Eugene before that horrific attack on Saturday. Now let's talk about Rudy Eugene. You've heard some police theorize he was on some drug-induced psychosis. Well, other police officers we met today, as well as Eugene's ex-wife, called him possibly mentally ill. And so we explored that today, and you might be surprised about what we found. 8 years before an officer shot Rudy Eugene to halt Saturday's frenzied, ravaging, cannibalistic attack, this North Miami Beach officer witnessed Eugene's bizarre behavior, arrested him at his mother's home in 2004 for beating her and threatening to kill her.
We can hear him yelling and throwing things inside the house.
In fact, Eugene made history that day as the first person ever tasered by an NMB officer, and records show it took 3 times to subdue him.
He wasn't cooperative. He wouldn't follow orders. He was very belligerent. He had that 1,000-yard stare that he's just staring, right into you. And
Mike Pond says Eugene may have been mentally ill, but had no history to go on.
It's pretty horrific, and it's pretty sad.
Miami-Dade Judge Steve Leifman has seen horrifying sadness. We caught up with him on his way to China, where he was invited to speak on the court's internationally known diversion program he created that gets help, not jail time, for the mentally ill. Despite Eugene's repeated arrests and erratic behavior, he was never referred to that program.
And we're getting much more sophisticated at that, but 4 years ago, which was the last time we really would have had a shot to get him, he just never came into the mental health part of it, unfortunately.
That 2008 arrest on drug charges was Eugene's most recent.
Rudy Eugene.
He stood quietly for his bond hearing that took less than a minute that day. He was eventually found guilty, but the court suspended his sentence, writing, "The defendant is not likely to engage in a criminal course of conduct." Eugene proved that prediction wrong Saturday.
That's Glenna Milberg reporting to us live. Glenna, do we have you back there?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Glenna. We can see you as well. Glenna, can you hear us?
I can hear you, Laura. Yes, what I was going to say, excuse the technical difficulties, Miami detectives hope to learn so much more about what happened on Saturday from Ronald Popo, but it will be such a long time before anyone here can really say whether he'll pull through for that.
Summer zombie-like behavior from people using the synthetic drug bath salts. Well, now there's a case in Gwinnett County. Police arrested a man who they say stripped down to his underwear at a driving range and threatened to eat people. Fox 5's Chris Shaw live in Lilburn tonight with that story. Chris?
Well, this case is so bizarre. It's so far from what we normally hear about that people are going to shake their head when they hear these details. Some may even laugh because it just doesn't sound real. Well, police say what happened here, dealing with someone high on bath salts, is a part of their dangerous new reality. He came out of these woods screaming, witnesses say, but he wasn't yelling for. What was he saying?
He's just saying like animal sound, kind of.
Animal sound?
Yeah.
It was an odd sight, to say the least, at Atlanta Golf Center. Police say Carl LaVenture, on his 21st birthday, showed up here, grabbed a junior club, and began running around hitting balls. The owner of this driving range couldn't believe what she was seeing. Were you scared?
Yeah, we were very scared. It's not like a human. It's not like a human.
He didn't seem like he was human.
No, just like an animal, wild animal.
And what he said was just as wild. Subjects ranged from God to rapper Tupac to cannibalism.
Among other things, he was saying things like, "I'll eat you. I don't want to eat you, but I will."
Police say when they showed up, LaVenture, who by that time had stripped down to his underwear, this is his shoe, came running right at them.
Just in a full sprint. Didn't seem to be responding to anything they said.
Or anything they did. They say he wiped away pepper spray from his eyes like it was nothing. Then it took 4 hits with a taser to arrest him. When paramedics got to the scene, they were able to give LaVenture a drug that seemed to bring him out of his haze. And that's when police say he told them several hours earlier he smoked a joint with some bath salt sprinkled on top, and he didn't remember anything else. But at the hospital, the paramedics' drugs wore off, and police say LaVenture once again fell into his bad trip, lunging off his hospital bed at officers.
Before they could get him under control with the 2 officers that were present and the security personnel that were present, he had gone through about another 7 cycles of being tased.
Now, police say part of what makes this drug so dangerous is that the high, the bad trip of the high, can last for several hours, as in this case. They say the person doesn't feel pain usually, as we saw after he was tased over and over again. And they also say that the person really doesn't know reality and has these delusions, sees things that aren't there. And that makes their police job so tough. And they say they are seeing more and more cases of people abusing bath salts like this. Reporting live in Lilburn, Chris Shaw, Fox 5.
That's real. I know it's coming drink. White police, don't let me come. I don't care for. Please, for. You real for. Crazy. Damn crazy. Whatever. I'll do for you. I do. Got it real. It's not coming. Bro, please, whatever. Crazy. Don't let me eat you. 4 years. I do 4 years. Got it real. I know God real. Pray God. God, bro. Why? You're on TV. Please. I'll do everything. 4. God is real. You don't have to. God is real. It was all a dream thinking. He's not coming. Tupac. He's not lazy.
Relax, Carl.
God is real. Whatever. 4. Real 4. God. I have to eat you. I don't have to eat you. 4. God. Eat you. Haitian, Miami, evidence. I don't care. God. You're real. I'll pray. I'll eat you. Don't make me 4. Crazy. Dream. It's not a dream. It's not please. Tupac. God. I'm gonna eat you. 4. God. I'll do. Don't make me eat you. Number 4. I'm not. You're not a soldier then. God. I'll eat you. Don't make me eat you. 4. You're not real 4, baby. Look, you know. Dream. Biggie. Dad, Tupac. Don't make me. I love you. 4. You real 4. I'll do 4 years. God, not. Dream goes on.
First at 11, a man is fighting for his life after he was reportedly attacked and his face half eaten by a naked man near the MacArthur Causeway. When police arrived on this truly bizarre scene, they say they were forced to open fire on the alleged attacker and kill him. CBS 4's Tiffany Helber joins us live from Jackson Memorial Hospital, where the victim is recovering. Tiffany, this is truly odd and a very disturbing story. What do you know?
Cynthia, certainly a first for me in my career. You know, police sources are telling me that the man rushed here to this hospital had no face left, that he was completely unrecognizable after this attack, an attack that the city of Miami police are not officially giving us much details about as they try to put the pieces together of this bizarre puzzle. One police source says it's the most gruesome scene he's ever been at, a crazy case that ended with one man shot dead by police and another one hospitalized. CBS News sources and a Miami Herald News report says it started with 2 naked men fighting near this MacArthur Causeway exit right next to the Miami Herald building. Investigators say a witness called 911. When the cops arrived, sources say one man was chewing off another man's face, ignoring police orders to stop.
Now, during this confrontation, an officer did discharge his weapon, striking
one of the individuals.
But sources say that single bullet was not enough to stop the man from attacking the other's face. They say the cops had to fire several shots to finally stop that man.
That individual has lost his life right now.
Medics rushed the other man to the hospital, leaving behind a strange scene that shut down this exit at the causeway and backed up westbound traffic all the way to Alton Road on the beach on this busy Memorial Day weekend. Now, I also spoke to Javier Ortiz from the Miami Police Union, and he tells me that that officer on the scene had absolutely no choice but to fire his gun in this case. We're live in Miami. Tiffany Helberg, CBS 4 News.
So disturbing and hard to hear. We'll learn more details tomorrow, I'm sure. Thanks for that, Tiffany.
Now at 10, calls for help during a deadly encounter.
He's beating another man. It's a naked man beating another man.
And a former heavyweight talking about the time he knocked the attacker out cold. New details after a savage attack.
Two new angles to the one story that's made headlines all week. 7's Nicole Ensalada live at the scene in Miami for us tonight. Nicole?
Well, Craig, in just a moment, we'll introduce you to the man who had a violent encounter, he says, with Rudy Eugene just a few years ago. But first, we are now hearing those 911 calls that came in when all of this was going on the MacArthur Causeway. And, you know, some people sounded concerned, others even a little amused, because it was clear no one fully could grasp the horror of what was going on right in front of them.
There he is. Yeah, you can listen.
As a naked Rudy Eugene ripped the flesh off the face of a homeless man, Ronald Popo, in the middle of the day last Saturday, bewildered drivers began calling 911.
What is your emergency now? Listen, there's a naked man on the MacArthur Causeway, at the end of the causeway coming towards Biscayne Boulevard. He is beating another man to a pulp, like on top of the man, beating him. The man is bleeding.
Somebody's beating on him? They got his beating?
I'm a bus driver. I passed by and I saw what was happening. I pulled over.
Okay, he's been beaten, you said?
He's beating another man. It's a naked man beating another man. I'm beating him. Yeah, on the MacArthur Causeway, like towards the Miami Herald, is at the end of the causeway. But he's going to kill that man, I promise you.
Ronald Popo indeed was rushed to the hospital gravely injured, nearly all of his face unrecognizable. The next caller more bemused than anything else.
Hi, how you doing? I'm just reporting this naked man in front of the Miami Herald building next to the highway. He's throwing his clothes on the highway. Can't miss him. He's naked.
And a third caller.
Hey, these two bums who were going at it with each other, taking up the whole lane. I think they're fighting or something. They almost knocked over an old lady who was fighting by.
In Miami, everyone knows me.
Melton Bowen had his own run-in with Rudy Eugene.
Long feeling out process.
Melton Bowen is a former professional fighter who gave and took many punches over the years, leaving him with slurred speech, but still a fighting spirit. And according to police, Eugene picked a fight over music with Bowen at this flea market back in 2007.
He took his shirt off and came at me.
He showed 7's Rosh Lowe what happened next.
And just like that, and he goes right down.
Right.
Does he get back up?
No.
A violent confrontation that this time ended with one well-placed jab. And now there's another aspect to the story. Over the past week, you may have encountered some of those very graphic pictures of Ronald Popo, the victim, online. They've been circulating all over the place. Well, now the Miami Police Department wants to know who took those pictures, how they got out, and there is an investigation underway. Reporting in Miami tonight, Nicole.
are saying, time to erase the echoes in empty rooms are saying, time to erase the rest.